Welcome back. In this video we are going to build another voice bot for property management companies. This voice bot will handle maintenance requests, emergency calls, rent payment issues, and it will answer to FAQ questions. So let's dive in. So we are going to test first out the AI agent. So you have an image what we are going to build in this video. I'm getting called at the moment, so let me pick up the phone. This is the AI agent which we are going to build in this video. So
Yahya, thank you for calling Adaptive AI Property. I understand you're calling about a maintenance issue at 121 Ash Doctor Unit App 24. How can I help you today?
Yes, correct. So we have an emergency. There's a lot of water flooding out of our bedroom and we need help as soon as possible.
Understood, Abdullah Yahya. Are you in immediate danger right now from the water?
No, we are standing outside. Everyone stands outside.
Got it. Have you called 911?
No, we haven't called 911.
Perfect, Abdullah Yahya. Emergency response has been activated and our team is being dispatched to your location immediately. They'll be there within 15 minutes to handle the flooding. Stay outside and safe. Do you need me to stay on the line or is there anything else you need right now?
No, that's it. Thank you. Bye. So I also just received 2 SMSs. One SMS is actually for me and one is for the emergency teams, but I sent both of them to me. So this is the SMSs. I will also show a screenshot in the video. And I received an email, which this is the email. You can see all the information of my location and what is happening. Again, I'm going to share a screenshot inside this video so you have an image. So yeah, this is what we are going to build. So let's dive into the actual workflow. So, all right, so this is the actual workflow what we have. We are building this inside Voiceflow. There's a link in the description to Voiceflow. If you use my link, you will get also 1,000 credits, which is 10 times more than on the free plan. So make sure if you're new with Voiceflow, you are using my link in the description. So yeah, we start first with getting the current time. This is for the AI blocks to determine what time it is right now and when, for example, they need maintenance or something else. So if I open, it's a function. You can see here a block, and I'm going to share this function also. There's a link in the description. It's my Skool community, and over there you can get all of these functions and templates. So basically, this template, it will give us the output will give us the current date, the day of the week, and the time zone. The input will be the time zone in IANA formatting. So let me go to the block itself. You can give here a fixed value or a variable, and this must be in the IANA database naming. So for example, I live in the Netherlands. In my case, it is Europe/Amsterdam. You can see also in the description, for example, if you live in New York, it is America/New_York. So you have to paste this manually in here, and then you have to create like 3 variables. I named them the same as these variables. So, and basically, like for example, the current date will be saved in this variable. And then we are going to continue on the get user information block, and then we have also a conditional block over here. I will come there in a moment. So we are making an API call first to make.com, and in make.com we are passing the user ID, and if it's on the phone, it is always the phone number. So the phone number is one of the user ID is one of the default variables saved if you create a new project inside Voiceflow, and like every phone call will be like the phone number will be always saved in the user ID. So we are basically giving the automation in make.com the phone number, and then with the phone number we can search like the customer in our database. So let's go to make.com. So for example, the call we had just now, we had like the user ID, which was my phone number, and then we sent this phone number to the database, and we said like in column B, this value must be the same, and once it had a match, it will then share like all the information it found inside the database. So let me go to the actual database. We are using Google Sheet for this. So client database, and you can see here in column B, we have all the phone numbers, and once it found the matching phone number, it will then give like all the information in this row. So all my information. So with it, what it actually did, it gave me the ID, phone, name, email, address, etc. And then with a webhook response, we can send this information back to Voiceflow, and then we can save like all these values in a variable inside Voiceflow. So if I open this module, so I just did it. If you go to the body, you can see like the JSON with the actual values. And if I click on the module itself, you can see like these are like the variables from the Google database. So each time once there's a match, it will give us the ID, phone, name, email, address, unit, lease start, lease end, and balance due. And then we are going to capture this information inside Voiceflow. So like each of them, make sure like if you are building this by yourself and it's slightly different, the object name is exactly the same as the object names in make.com. So whatever was after the address object name, that value will be saved inside this variable. Same thing with units, same thing with lease start. I just kept it simple. I have like the variable names, the exact same thing as with the object names, but this is optional. So basically, like all those values will be saved in a variable, so we can reuse this later inside the chatbot. And then after the API block, where we are getting the user information, we have a conditional step. So if it didn't found the user, it will give us, like for example, name, the value 0. And if it's 0, it will then go to the new customer agent block, which is going to intake them, and it will save them here in the new customer calls. But this is more interesting. So once it found it, like it's anything else than a 0, so it found it, it will say like hello and then variable name. So just now, once we were testing it out, it said like hello Abdullah Yahya, so it literally used this, like my name over here. So my name was saved in the variable name, and then we could have reused it inside the message block. So it said, hello Abdullah Yahya, thank you for calling Adaptive AI Property. I understand you are calling about a maintenance issue at variable address. So what is the address? Well, voila. So it said this. Unit, and then also a variable. So these are always dynamic. It depends on the customer and like how can I help you. So after the message block, we have a choice button. So over here, if you go to listen, you can find here the choices. Same thing with the message block. Messages, talk, message. And then with the get current time, it's a function. So you have to go to def and then function. And same thing with API. You can find it like over here and create your own API block. And the condition block is in the logic condition. So after the message block, we have a choice button. So what this choice is basically doing is like, it will listen to our issue with what we have in the beginning, and then it is going to delegate to one of those agent steps. Let me open all of them first. So we have the first one, it's only a trigger. You can also add a button, but since it's on the call, a button is not relevant. So we have only intents. And yeah, the intent is like an example for the AI when to trigger this pod. So we are giving it a description, like for when to trigger it, and then like 20 utterances. And an utterance is, for example, it's like an example for the AI to understand, to get like more context basically. And you can just import like one by one an utterance, or you can like bulk import it. I mostly let like ChatGPT or Claude give me like a list with utterances, and I will just import them in this way. And make sure you have also a bar over here. Make sure that the bar is like up until green, and once it's green, you are sure that the AI understands it. So we have like 4 intents, one for maintenance requests, one for emergency calls. So for example, the building is flooding, I smell gas, I'm locked out of my unit, etc, etc. So if whatever I was saying after this message block was similar to emergency, it would have triggered this path. And then we would go to the agent step, which is going to handle emergency calls. For a question, it's basically the same, like general questions, and then for rent payment issue. So if I go to the maintenance request agent step, and the agent step is this block, and it has like a lot of functions. So let me create a new agent step and quickly explain to you what is going to happen in this agent step. So you can give the agent step a general instruction, and over here you can like explain like who it is, for who it works, like give it some context, what it should do, what goals it has, what tools it can use, buttons, and when to exit this agent step. So for example, if I open one of the templates, you can see we have like a whole instruction, and you are giving it a identity, the purpose, like how to handle each scenario, etc. So I would recommend you, if you are going to build for the first time a agent step, to follow one of those templates, or I'm going to share also my template for this agent block. But I would say like try to understand the structure behind the instructions, and with that you can create your own. Yeah, this is like the general instruction, and then over here you have like the tools. And in this block, the maintenance request agent, we have the API tool. And this API tool is connected with make.com. So if I go to here, maintenance request, it is this one. It's super easy. If I click the most recent one, you can see here we are telling the agent here like, hey, you have one tool available, which is the make.com tool, and you are going to use it once you have like all the information, and you can send this information to the database. Again, here in the LLM description, you have to tell it also when to use this API tool. And then we have the input variables. You can create those input variables if you click on the pen next to the name. You can create them over here in a post, just under the post. If you want to send data, you have to do it post. If you want to get it, it is like get, or you can delete if you want to delete or reset a chat, for example. Like each of them has a function. In this case, I selected post because we want to send data, and then you have to paste here the webhook URL from make.com. So inside make.com, you have a webhook module. Yeah, basically, if you open like a workflow, you can add like apps and modules, and the webhook module is a very important one because you can like directly send data to make.com, and you'd have to create a custom webhook, not a mail hook, a custom webhook. And if you just create like a name, you can give it a name, and then once you are going to save it, you will get an URL. Copy that URL and save this block. I did it in that way with this block. I'm not going to do it again. But once you have the URL, you can paste it over here. And then over here, you can create your body. This can be in a form data. It can be also in a JSON, whatever you like. But this will be the object name. And over here, it will be the variable, what you have created over here. I like to keep everything the same. So the name over here is also the name over here. Yeah, so this is the API tool, and then once we are going one step back, you can see here like the input variables. And again, these are the variables that we have created in the API tool. Once you have created that, you will see a list over here. And important, you have like two spaces, the default value and the LLM description. So the default value, if you already know what it is, in my case we know what the ID is because we had in step 2, I mean, the customer lookup in a database, and one of those variables we are capturing is the ID. So we already have a default value. But if you don't have a default value, you can let the LLM collect it. It's like similar as what we are doing over here. So it needs to ask, like for example, the maintenance type, the issue description. It needs to ask that, and it will then, like, based on what we have set to the agent step, it will create a value, and with that we can make the API call. So like value provided is like we have already given it a variable or like a fixed value, and when the agent collect, we kept the default value open and we only give it a LLM description, like what to ask and what formatting it should give us in the value, etc. Same thing with this. You have to explain it what to collect, and in some cases it must be very strict. So it must only output like 3 outputs, like 3 values. For example, yes, maybe, no, or I'm a business customer or a personal customer. So that's basically what you can do over here. This is quite important. And if you want to capture data, same thing what we did in the customer database lookup API, you can also create your body over here. In this case, we don't need to capture anything. So basically, once the agent has like all the questions, it will trigger this API tool and it will send it to make.com. So let me open one of the recent calls. So you can see here, the requested timestamp, it gave us like the time and the preferred contact time, immediate, unit access yes, urgency level emergency, ID, this is the ID from the database, so let me see, yes it was. The name, so it didn't ask these, the name, etc., because we already had given it a default value, but for these we didn't, so it had to ask it. And the issue description, steady flow of water leaking from the pipes, that's it. And then we got like all the data inside the make.com workflow, and then here we have a Google Sheet where we just add like all these information to the Google Sheet. We can also see the most recent one, it was this one. Voila. And in the database we have also like some extra spaces open for the people who are hypothetically working for this company. Everything here is a demo, so it's not real. It's just to explain to you how you can build like agents for yourself. We also gave it access to the knowledge base, so if the user had some like other questions, it would have known it. In a moment I will go more deeper inside the knowledge base. And yeah, once we have like all the conditions, we will exit the agent step. And once we are going to exit it, it immediately will end the flow. So it will first say bye, and then it will trigger this pod, and then it will end the call. Yeah, same thing with the emergency, what we had triggered in a moment. So let me go to make.com. Quite interesting because we are sending 2 SMSs and an email. So yeah, the same thing, we have a general instruction, and we have an API tool. I'm explaining here when to use this API tool. We have here all the input variables, what we have created over here with the URL from make.com. It's quite identical, and the questions are a bit different, like, hey, what kind of emergency it is, immediate danger. So it asks us like, hey, are you in an immediate danger, yes or no? Are we safe or not? Did we call 911, emergency description, emergency priority, etc. So all of these the agent had to ask, and you can scroll a bit back and you can check that. And the rest we already know, like the property address, client name, etc. So the agent doesn't need to ask that. And yeah, once we have everything, it will send the data to make.com. So the call we had just now. Voila. It created a description. We said over here, no, we are safe. There's no immediate danger because we were standing outside. It was flooding, etc. And then we had a SMS. So I just showed you the SMS in a screenshot. Again, let me open up the SMS. So if yeah, you can see like we are sending it to, and this was a variable, so it's always dynamically. The body is like emergency. Let me open up, this may be easier. Yeah. So emergency at, and then the property what we had saved inside the chatbot, and we got it from the client database. Unit is also from the client database. Emergency type, this is what the agent had to ask. The client name, phone, and the emergency priority. So you can see here, it first, like everywhere where you have here the variable, you can see here we have an actual value. I believe if I click over here, you can see like emergency at 121 Dr. unit. And in actual, we have like variables, which is always dynamically. So it depends on the user, but we have a fixed template. Yeah, so we send the data. So once the agent has like all the answers, we are sending the data to make.com. We have the first SMS, which will, hypothetically, we will send this SMS to one of the members from the property management company. So they will get the SMS. We can send also an SMS to multiple people. You can just copy this and like send it to whoever you want. And I have to correct what I just said. I said the 2 is a variable, like the phone number is a variable. It isn't. It's always a fixed value because we want to send this to the same person inside the company. And then we have an email. So let me open up this email. It was in HTML formatting, so that's why we have these colors in it. And over here we have like all the information we need to know about this situation. If I open this up, and the content, you can see it's in HTML. If you don't do it in HTML, it will give you like in a block, not nicely formatted. It will give you basically in this way. And with an HTML, you can format it a nice way. So you can, it's like basically the same information, but one of them is like text and one of them is like an HTML format. So I would recommend you to use always in HTML format. Yeah, so we have here the email, and we are going to send this to one of the team members inside the property management company. And then we have the SMS to the user, and they will receive an SMS that everything is confirmed and help is on the way, which just happened. And then once we have that, the agent will like nicely end the flow, and then it will trigger this spot, the exit condition, and then we will end it. So this the emergency call, and then we have the general instruction. So this is a bit different. We have here the KB search. The KB search is one of the blocks in the dev. And basically what it's going to do, we have a knowledge base. You can see here a brain. And over here we have some information about this company with all kinds of chunks. And the chunks are like information about this company. So for the sake of this demo, I let Claude generate some information, but here you can add in your data sources like URLs, sitemaps, upload files, etc. And what is going to happen is we have the question, which is the last utterance. So this variable is like whatever the user has set as lost. This is also a default variable we get from Voiceflow. We have this as question, and then it will use this question to search in the database to relevant information, and that information will be saved in chunks. So I created this variable chunks. I have said like we need only 3 chunks max, and like those 3 chunks max will be saved in this variable. And that variable, we have it input it inside the agent step over here, the general question agent step as last. So you can see here. So once the chatbot was running, you will have like a couple big blocks with information. And this one is just you answering the questions, and we don't have any API tools. What we have is like 4 exit conditions. So it will just answer questions until they are saying like, okay, I know enough, thank you, and then it will end the flow. Or it will to say, yeah, I have some questions about maintenance. It will then go to the agent step, which is specialized in the maintenance. Same thing with their emergency. So if they suddenly say like, yeah, I have an emergency after asking some general questions, it will trigger this spot and it will go to that agent step. So we are telling inside the exit condition in the LLM description, like trigger the spot immediately when the tenant mentions any emergency situation. So it will then immediately route to this agent step block. All right, and then we have the end call and we have the exit conversational turn. So every time once the agent step has answered the question, it will exit this and it will go back to the KB search. So so we have answered, they have responded to that response will be sent to the KB search, and then we will have some information. Unless like what they have responded will trigger one of those other pods, then we'll go to those pods. If not, it will just go back and it will stay in a loop with this agent step. So KB search and then agent step and then like again KB search until one of those paths are triggered. And then we have the rent payment issue, which is quite similar to the other ones. It will try to it will check like their balance, like if they have any debts with them, etc. And it will basically help them. And once we have like all the like variables, it will save it inside the variable inside the tool, and then we are going to make an API call to make.com, which is the same thing what we had with the maintenance. And then we have also like the exit conditions, which is going to route to the maintenance, emergency, payment, and call. Straightforward to build it. It will take some time. Yeah, this is a demo. If you want something like more customized and more complicated and more flows, like also with human handoffs, and you don't know how to build it, you can contact me also. There's a link in the description where you can hire me and I will build these solutions for you. I hope this was helpful and see you the next time.